or action? All right, 6 o'clock for the Mental Health Board Buildings and Ground meeting. We'll call to order. It's 6 o'clock. We don't, public comment. We don't have anybody here for public comment.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call, sorry, roll call.
Chris Bruin? Here. Ray Lapinus? Here. Connie Machini? Carolyn Schofield? Here. Adam Carson?
Here. And we'll go back to public comment. No one's here for that. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from the March 13th, 2024 meeting. On page 2, I'll be seeking a motion in a second. So moved by Chris. Second by Carolyn. Any discussion? All in favor? We had aye. That sounds good. All right, minutes are approved. What's we got next? We got agenda items for discussion. 4A, the FY24 Buildings and Ground Report. I'm going to defer to Bridget. Unless you want me to go over that one.
As our building and grounds manager, actually building, office, and operations manager.
I don't know how much detail you want me to go in, but I can just go through. We go to the facility management is the amount of hours that FM has come over to the building. Our hours are usually different than theirs because they track theirs with travel time. So these hours are the total without travel time. The next section is all of the inspections that we've conducted here. And everything was passed. Actually, I should say that our backflow had an issue and there was a repair on that, but there was a minor repair on our backflow. And then it was fine. All of our drills were conducted and no drills this year had to be repeated. All of them passed the first time. Then going down to our major projects completed. We did a partial painting, which included the area on the original side of the building. So the new tenants, we did 13 offices over there were completed. And then we did some random painting, some offices. So FM did some of the painting and then we had to bill out some of the painting to get the old threshold offices, I would call them, in order for the new tenants refreshed. We seal coated the parking lot this year, so then we would be skipping next year and then possibly putting it in the budget for FY26. We did do the folding wall maintenance. We didn't have any major repairs or anything with that, even though there was not a lot of maintenance ever done on them. This wall is the one that is used the most, and we just need to get it maintained. We need to get on some sort of a maintenance schedule with them. This wall's barely used. The one in the CRC required a few minor repairs, but nothing billable. So just minor repairs that was billed with the maintenance. The security system and the doors and the servers, all of that was done all through IT. So we are done with that. We did the final walkthrough of the doors. The last part of that that needs to be done is they need to remove a couple badge readers at the front, but other than that, that project is complete, which kind of brings me to the sound system in here. When we were testing the system in here, we did notice a little bit of an issue with the speaker, so we might need to do a little bit of maintenance on that. So it's not just these speakers, but it's when the presentations are done, like we noticed at board development and we noticed at network council, that crunching, we might need to get some maintenance done on that. Let me stay on track. Obviously, we have live streaming and coding done. And then our unplanned projects were our HVAC repairs, and then this wall, this leak that we have been dealing with for years is completely done, and we haven't had any issues this year at all. Not one. Yep. Yeah.
We haven't had to call you.
So that was great.
Well, you know, I am down the street. I'll bring my shop vac if we need, but.
Did you guys have any questions on any of that?
I just have a quick.
Oh, hey, hang on. Push the button. I got to figure out how to do this. There you go.
So you mentioned that there were there was painting, but in the budget, I don't see painting separated. Which vendor did the painting?
Five-star painting of Crystal
No.
Lake.
There it is. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Then the projects that we currently have planned from the budget are the carpet, which we had talked about doing the carpet squares in one of the tenant areas, one of the small rooms. We decided at the last Buildings and Grounds, I believe it was, doing carpet squares so that we could pick and choose and replace those little squares out. That is in the budget. Painting these conference rooms and halls, and the wood fascia and roof edge repair.
One quick thing, when we have the next Buildings Grounds, wear painting clothes.
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
helpful.
We're all gonna chip in and, you don't like that idea?
So for the budget, we'll have to decide the costs, so we'll have to get estimates.
Yeah, the estimates I have were from last year, prior to the last Building and Grounds meeting. So obviously, we'll have to do new estimates, get 3 estimates each, and see how in line they are, and then go from there. You know, if they're exorbitant, then we'd have to revisit that. So. And then on to FY '26 project planning. That is when I will defer back to Adam.
Oh, sure, hang on, let me figure this. Look at
Sorry.
that.
Sorry, moving too fast for me. I have a question on the 25 budget. When I was looking, what's the difference between building improvements and then repair and maintenance? Because they both had in there, like, painting and repair, and so how do you differentiate which of those, like the painting of the conference rooms, is that under building improvements, or?
I'll defer to Mel for that.
Okay.
How do I, turn that off? Now, on, there we go.
There we go. It's more cost of the project, whether it would be require capitalization or not. So if it's a big cost project, so if we find that all the painting projects need to be 30,000 combined or something like that, then it would fall under building improvements. So it's more of a capital threshold issue.
And so is it kind of, they're equal, one's 50,000, the other's 50,000. So like, would the 50,000 in maintenance be kind of more small items that add up? And
Yes.
then the building repaired would be like one big
Yeah,
project?
if you
that's-
kind of look in this list here,
Yeah.
it's more all the little small maintenance things that combined build into that $50,000 versus a big, larger project.
Okay, and so that for this year, though, we have like the painting of the conference rooms in hall, would that fall under that bigger building improvements?
Potentially, yes, depending on the estimates and the amount of painting that's decided on, and
Okay,
so.
okay, all right, okay, thanks.
All righty. We good? We're moving on to the FY '26 budget needs and projection planning. Again, like Bridget said, we're on an every other year with the seal coat in the parking lot. Previous discussions have said that if we don't maintain it, it's going to cost us more in the long run. And I'm sure everyone here has a driveway that needs to get seal coated every other year too. Some people do it more often. I think every other year is just fine. And then we got to paint that, which is an extra added expense. We talked about doing the bathrooms. Again, that's a need, not a want, or a want, not a need. If we turned out that our initial estimates are really, really, really high, we might need to rethink that, or maybe break it up over a couple different cycles. The only challenge with that is that when you're doing construction twice, it's twice as much mess, and then the cost goes up there, so.
I don't know if I need the mic.
Oh, yes, you do. Well, we'll turn you on here. Hang on. You're on? No? Now you're on. Go ahead.
I just wanted to give you an update that it is on the radar of our grant writers to look for some capital improvement projects, and, they were waiting. Like, for example, a lot of the congressmen, like Foster, normally has grants around this time. We haven't seen them come out yet, but we feel that we would have a good probability of getting something like that, because what we've heard is that this year, or moving forward, that these community grants used to go to a lot of nonprofits, and now they're geared more towards government. So we do think if they come out, I know there's things that are up in the air, but if those things come out, I think we would stand a good chance of getting some of these in grants. So,
Well, we'll definitely keep that on the radar, but we probably should plan for,
Right.
budget for it, and then if there's leftover for that, we can use it for other expenses or put it back to wherever we can use it. That's the good part about, if we plan for it and we don't have it, then we can keep it in our piggy bank for the unknown expenses and things like that, or give it to wherever we can put it. So we're talking about the heating and air conditioning replacement or repair plan. Again, that's something kind of hard to, unless we know it's on its last legs. I did a water heater on Monday at my house. Yeah, replace it when it breaks. That's kind of what happens, but we need to have that money available to us. And then we're going to be looking at, making sure, again, this is an older building, so we're trying to keep it nice and reevaluate for painting, additional painting or repainting, depending on what we have. And then look what the assessment shows for us on the building for future improvements and or repairs to keep the building up to snuff here. That's what we got. Any questions, comments, concerns? Huh? There you go. There you go.
So forgive me, I think we meet so little that, so do we now kind of just, okay, we're going to go ahead and put these in FY '26? Or, and I know last time we kind of discussed on where they might fall, and there was ranges, so are we going to go out and get the prices and just assume that these will be put in the budget, or where do we go from here?
we have a spreadsheet.
Hang on, let's put you on. There you go.
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet, of kind of when each fiscal year, what may need to be done. So we kind of look at that, and that's where this information is coming from. So yes, the next steps would be to get estimates and to put them in our fiscal year '26 budget, again, that the board will be reviewing. So that is the plan.
Okay. And do you have like a, again, forgive me because I haven't been around that long, but do you have like a 5-year capital plan? Or like a 10-year capital plan?
I think that's been, that a whole plan idea was based on, known money coming in on property tax versus sales tax now. So I think any plan that we did have needs to be reevaluated at this point in time. And I'm looking at this kind of like home ownership. We own this building. There are certain things you need to do, the lawnmower breaks, you got to buy a new lawnmower, get it repaired kind of thing. That's kind of the projects that we're looking at here. General maintenance things that you got to do to your house every year to keep things going, that we don't have that. I mean, if we need to get something together like that, we can definitely have that, but it would be, a working, living document at that point in time because things change. And if the air conditioning goes out when it's 100 degrees in the summer in northern Illinois, it's going to get really warm in here, and then you're going to have other issues. So those are things that kind of like need to happen. If the air conditioning goes out at your house, it's kind of the same thing, right? So we can have a plan and just know that we might have to pivot from that plan a little bit based on what happens.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. The reason I asked the question, and we kind of got into a little bit of discussion, and I don't remember if it was, when it was, Christina, that you kind of had brought up about the building, and I don't know if you want me to, it kind of ties into maybe like going into the '26 projects and we're at, kind of getting a holistic picture of the cost of the building. And I think really the best way to do that is kind of over that 5-year period, because you are going to have significant improvements like the bathrooms. And so to really understand where we're at, and I'm assuming you might even have the information in order to know how the lease, what to charge for the lease. I mean, I don't know if that, it goes in there, or, but like I was running some of the numbers, and they're very, very rough. But trying to figure out, and I don't even have any idea, like if we were to lease another building, like how much would it even cost us to be on a lease? So, you know, I understand you guys were saying before that we're a nonprofit and we can't make money off of the building. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we're not losing money too. And so is there, you know, and like I said, I think maybe looking over a 5-year period would be the best way to do that, because year after, like next year, I'm assuming we have significant projects and it's going to be probably pretty heavily in the negative. So I don't know if there's a time or when that place would be to really do that evaluation of knowing what are our expenses, what are our capital improvements needed, what is our lease then subtracted out, and make sure that that money that's left would be just what we would put into a lease ourselves if we had a lease elsewhere, or or even positive in our favor, you know, that it would be less and not. I mean, I think we need to know that, and I don't know, is there a when we know that, or if we include these in the next year, if we kind of get that number?
Okay. I'll let Chris talk first, and then we'll move on.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to kind of echo some of that, but I think last year when we had this meeting, we talked about the fact that there'd been kind of assessment of our building to determine, you know, what's the timeline, for instance, on a roof? What's the timeline on a heater? What's the timeline on an air conditioner? And so, you know, if we're thinking about spending down our reserve fund to try to support, you know, programs in the community, we can't spend so far down that we can't pay for those things. You know, I just had to buy a roof last year, and I'm sure this roof is bigger than my roof. It's going to be more expensive. So, you know, my roof costs like $12,000. So if we have to buy a roof for this and it's more, then we have to make sure that we shelter those funds for those purposes and don't incorporate that in our, you know, 3-month reserve that we keep talking about that as an acceptable threshold. So I want to make sure that if we, you know, are, you know, like you're talking about, trying to evaluate what our options are, you know, kind of for grant making in the coming, you know, grant cycle, that we take this into account.
Ray, go ahead.
I have a question. Again, I'm new again to this committee. In the past, there was discussion that the CRC in this building could be considered as 2 separate buildings, even though they're under the same taxing ID number right now. But was that ever addressed?
Okay. Hang on. Did I get you? You got it? No. There we
There we
go.
go. I've been reviewing the building documents, you know, when they originally built the building, and this was basically considered in addition to the front building. So on paper, they're not considered separate buildings. I don't know if that's something that can be done, but it's something that could be explored, I guess. But on paper, this is one building. So,
This is. Now I see why people have problems with Ray. Hit your button again. Because you push the thing and it doesn't go. There you go.
I know that the thought process was to sell this portion, the addition portion, to the building as a separate building and move the mental health board into just the CRC. So That's something that maybe we could research a little more.
I think that we could do, if it's all considered one entity, we can do what we want with it. It's just a matter of the portion of the building and the circumstances that go with that when you're talking about real estate and things like that and the status of the building. Because we don't currently pay property taxes, as I understand it, we could conceivably change that. And so there's other implications that go with that. There's a huge benefit, and there may be even benefits of leasing a different space. But I mean, I think at this point in time, I mean, other than the January board meeting, that's the first I'm hearing about discussions about are we going to continue to own this building? And I know there's been some rumors going around about, well, we don't want to rent here because we're afraid that we're not going to be owning the building. And to be honest, I don't think that's the case at this point in time, unless staff has other information about that. And I don't think that that's the case here right now. I really believe that we offer a good space for a lot of different things. That's part of the idea behind this space. There's trainings that are held here. We have community events here. But there's costs of doing business there, and maybe we need to reevaluate those and say, hey, we would like to continue to keep this space available to the community for trainings, for this, for that. I don't know is there any fees or structure that goes with that now, but we can set up a fee table that if you want to have D, E, and F, it's going to be X number of dollars for the day or per hour or whatever, and then if you want to use the equipment, there's cost of doing business here with everything. But you can keep it reasonable. That money can then be used to go back into the building. You're going to use the space, this available space. We'll keep it nominal, what's reasonable. You go over to MCC and rent the room there, what do they charge? They're charging. They're not giving it for free. They may give a break to somebody for something, or if there's a big community event, but you're renting that space. Same thing here. We have technology available. This stuff isn't, the projector breaks and things like that. That stuff's expensive. We need to have a little money in the kitty to pay for those things. And so if we need to talk about changing how we do that, there might be some people that are upset, and it's like pulling a Band-Aid off after it's been on your skin for way too long. So, I mean, we can definitely look at that stuff. I know you're concerned about long-term, and I think right now, I think we are here for the long term. I don't see anything changing with that in the immediate future. Someone comes and offers us a lot of money, then maybe that changes your mind. It's like, hey, I really like your house. Can I buy it from you? And you say it's not for sale, and then they fold a little piece of paper and roll it over to you, and it changes it. So we can definitely look at those projections, but I mean, it's there. We know we want to do the seal coat, the bathrooms, but the bathrooms are a want, not a need. We don't need to paint the offices again, but that was something we want to do. We don't need to do it. But if something comes up in the assessment report and, your car breaks down and you got to fix it if you want to get to work, and there's a catch-22 with that everywhere, so. Go ahead, Bridget.
Okay, so I just thought I'd offer maybe history on what I would consider maybe what they used as their capital plan was this assessment report. And what they did was they lined everything out, and they have basically a spreadsheet that shows a certain amount of money to budget each year. Something I guess we could offer is within that assessment report, there are certain sections that give a little more detail on items that could potentially go wrong. But like Adam said, it would be a living, breathing document. It'd be fluid, but it's something that we could sort of extract and create some sort of a capital plan, a little more, defined. with the, knowing that it would be fluid with the way that any ownership goes. That is kind of like a in-between that might be helpful.
I think that would be helpful for the grant.
Carolyn first, go ahead, then we'll get
She
you.
can respond, because I'll.
Go ahead, Leo.
I was going to say, I think it would be helpful for the grants if we. Okay, we had this projected, but we found this grant. Move it up.
We can also, in that same document, we can see the items that have already been completed, or maybe they need to be completed again in a certain amount of years. It would give us, because that assessment was done by a professional company, they went through item by item by item. So it is very detailed, so we can pull some of that detail out. I feel like that might be helpful.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Bridget, because that's exactly what I was looking for, and typically, do we have that? Is it in our binder, is that where is that, or is?
No, the assessment report is not in the binders itself, and it's very detailed. I'm happy to share it with you, but that detail we could pull out and make more of like a spreadsheet sort of a plan.
And I think at the
Make it
county,
easier.
maybe there was something, and there was almost like a sliding scale then. It showed, life expectancy of this, 7 years, life expectancy of this, 20 years.
Right.
And we would review it knowing then like, okay, we're at that 7-year mark. Is this something now we know we need to like evaluate that? Is that something that we either need the maintenance on, or we need to replace? Do we need to plan, or can we defer that for, another 3 years? And I guess I just kind of like envision something like that to really see, okay, what are our needs, or what can we defer,
And
then
that's
spend
the
it
challenge
elsewhere,
with
and like
this.
finding that balance.
Yeah, that's the challenge. I mean, we can go off of that report, but we all know that when someone comes and does an evaluation, like, look at a home inspector in Illinois. They're not held to anything. They're a person that comes in as a checkbox for when you buy a house. And I'm not saying that's the same thing with the people that are doing the assessment of the building, but
But some of it.
some of it is a, well, you really need to do the extra coding on this, but do you really, that's kind of the problem. So that's the challenge that we have with this. And so I like to do it as the want versus needs. We want to do the bathrooms. The bathrooms are there, they work. We don't need to do them. If we do change them, we have certain requirements that we need to get them up to
Right, the AD.
code and standard. And if we're going to do it, then you do it, and we do it the right way. But we don't need to do them. I know the initial estimate was what, somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000?
No, it wasn't that high, it was 250. Yeah, 250 to 300.
Okay, that's still a good chunk of change.
No, it is, but.
And, we don't.
Right.
If we need that versus an air conditioner or a furnace.
Right.
Guess what? That's getting preferential treatment, so.
I just think that visual really helps you understand
Right.
the impact that it has on the other things. Like, like, okay, now we're needing $200,000 for this, so what are the impacts on, we're pushing these other things out a couple years. And I don't know if the assessment had sort of that sliding scale in there, or a timeline or anything like that, but.
Well, we can create it. I would say we're not as we don't have the same, stuff that the county does, but we can still do an overlap, in a spreadsheet or something, overlap the years. But again, speaking to Adam's point is, where this assessment report is a little awkward is, at one point in time, they said, just replace all your HVAC. Every single one of them. So like I think what we're speaking to is that we have to modify this a little bit and then let it be fluid and see how it goes, because you're obviously not going to just replace every HVAC unit just because the assessment report says so. But yes, we can overlap them and see which years are going to have a little bit more, which are going to have a
Bridget, the
less.
assessment report is electronic, correct?
Yeah, it can be. Yes.
Okay, so we'll just send that out to everybody,
Yeah.
and then if we kind of all look at it and say, okay, well, yeah, I get it now, if that gives everybody a better understanding about where things are going to go, I think that's going to be the best route, and I mean, again, I'll take it back down to home ownership. I didn't want to spend money to buy a new water heater, but we want warm showers. You know, you want to, that's kind of what happens. So there's things that happen, and we're at the point in this age of this building where we need a little more TLC with things, and, you know, going buying corner keepers and cord keepers and things like that, that's the things that we do. Ray, I'm sorry, here you go, buddy.
The facilities maintenance report, is that from 2021 or is there a more recent? I think the last time I was on the committee, I see a report from,
Oh, when they came out and did a walk, that was from 23, not 21.
23, yeah.
Yeah, 23 they came out. Because in 23, we did a report, and we were told we were going to have to replace a lot of stuff. So we asked them to do a walk. They said something about the roof. We brought out our roof inspections, and they actually said that the roof was fine. So there was a little bit of conflicting there, but it was 23. So we can ask them to do that again. That can be another option, to ask them to come out and do a site walk.
yeah, I remember when when you said the HVAC.
Yeah.
and everything to be replaced.
Right.
Well, and that's-
Eye-numbing number.
And,
Yeah.
well, that's the problem, and so, you know, there's repairs that can be done, and then there's replacement. Is it
Right.
worth it? That's the hard part about ownership, is that you gotta own it, and
And as you stated, I know with the HVAC, they were saying, you know, you have to bring cranes in and stuff. So you're not going to just replace one unit?
yeah, the cost of doing that it's like, but again, this is part of the, you know, all right, I get it, this is expensive, but we have to do it, and if you do the bathrooms, as an example, and let's just say it's 300, we're not going to be doing the bathrooms for 10, 15 years.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're talking about dollar cost averaging on that, you're talking about a small amount over that time period.
Same with the door project
Yeah.
last year that we got the ARPA dollars for. Yeah.
And I like the idea of the grant, but I don't think we should count on those, because there's lots of money out there, but it doesn't mean that we're going to get it. And if we should budget for it, and then we can, if we do get a grant, that's great, then we can reallocate that money to either another project or
Line services.
something else. So, are we good, Carolyn? Ray, anything? Chris, anybody? No, over there? All right, on the review facilities condition assessment? Or did we just kind of do that?
I think we kind of did that. I mean,
Okay.
so, and then I would be happy to send it out if that's
Yeah, I
what you
think
say. You can
if
send it out
everybody
and we
gets a
can
copy
review
of it, then we're all on the same page. And seeing, I think we only met one time last year, maybe we need to try to figure out if we're going to look at this again. I think we'll sit down and we'll come up with some sort of a game plan, and then you guys will sit down and put it all together and see what we can do. But again, I think you have to live with a living document, because home ownership that's what it is. This is a home, so. So we'll send out that to everybody, so everybody has it. Is there any new business to address? No? All right. We have our regular mental health board meeting, March 25th, 6 PM, correct? And then we'll be looking for a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Ray? Chris, the second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.